How's it going, guys? Billy Pinckney here, and welcome back to Billy the Batboy's Corner, presented by Up On Game. And today we have a great guest. It's Tom Hackimer, New York Mets prospect. He's a sidearm pitcher in their organization, played as high as AAA, but is currently going through the process of recovering from Tommy John surgery. Another guy who has battled and has faced a lot of adversity when it comes to this injury that has plagued so many great ball players out there. So we're going to get a little inside look of what that process is looking like for him, and also some other things as well. What else from the baseball world that he's experienced, and also some music as well, some things that he's taken up outside of the game of baseball. All right, guys, we're here alongside New York Mets prospect Tom Hackimer. Tom, appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, he went to St. John's University and then drafted twice out of there, first by the Mets and then by the Twins, but then you ended back up with the Mets as a free agent. So it must have been pretty special for you to be drafted by the team originally and then head back officially with that organization.
Yeah, it was a very interesting full circle kind of feeling because things sort of fell apart when I got drafted by them initially, and well, a lot of the people involved with that were no longer there by the time I came back and ended up actually signing with them in the middle of not this past summer, the year before.
Did you notice any type of difference in culture when Steve Cohen bought the team instilled in the minor league side of things? I mean, we saw a lot of it with the major league club, but anything different now in the minor leagues?
So I came over, I think, after that had already been done. But we were really big on data collection. They've collected a ton of data, and I've heard that that's actually very similar to how Point 72 is run. So they have just these massive amounts of data. How efficiently we use it, I can't say on the minor league side. The major league side, they seem to be pretty good with it, but I'm not sure that's trickled all the way down. But it's moving in the right direction.
Well, I got to mention your interesting delivery, sidearm delivery, drop down low. When did that all begin? Was that something you had throughout most of your career, or did you decide later on that that's a slot where I should really focus on?
So it wasn't a thing at all, and then it was the only thing. In high school, I was only a shortstop. I did not pitch a single inning in high school, and then I went to college, and I was only a sidearm reliever.
That's interesting. Do you think younger kids out there, younger players who maybe are throwing a flat fastball, not much break on their breaking balls, should experiment with their slots and see what works for them?
It's one of those things where, like, if you're forcing it, it's going to be like uncomfortable, and I could see that being an issue. But like, I've kind of always thrown from a lot. Like as a shortstop, you throw from a lot of different slots, and that was part of what led to Ed Blankmeyer, who's the head coach of St. John's, coming to me basically through my hitting coach and saying like, "Hey, if you wanted to walk on as a pitcher here, like you could probably do that. We'd probably have you throw from a lower slot because you throw from all over. It looks good when you like drop down sidearm double plays or on slow rolling ground balls." So it's one of those things that like I was comfortable with it. It worked out well. Uh, my advice to people always when it comes to pitching is like you're gonna have to play with stuff and find out for yourself what works for you. Like I can't tell you what's gonna work for you. You got to play with it and see for yourself.
What is the Rapsodo data looking like? You got a lot of horizontal movement and vertical movement considering that slot?
Pretty much strictly horizontal movement. My fastball is usually like 20-ish inches horizontal arm side and just on the zero line vertical.
Okay.
So
Right.
I'm just spinning it straight at 3 o'clock, just straight sideways.
Well, you got a ball right there. Could you take us through a few of your grips there?
I do. So I go back and forth. Like a lot of the time I throw a four seam just because it's really consistent and it's going to move. It's going to run a ton no matter what I do. Uh, I'm thinking I'm going to bring the two seam back a little bit as I'm back off of surgery here. And then I throw like, the big sweeping slider, which I spike and just try to this front part of the horseshoe. And then changeup is a weird one. I think that's one of the pitch that has to be really, really unique to you. So my index finger is almost off of it. I'm really holding the ball with my thumb, ring finger, and pinky finger, and I'm trying to like turn the ball over so it comes out this side of my hand, so it like tumbles and it actually gets a good bit of like depth, like negative vertical break, like a left-handed slurve, basically.
Yeah, well, you just mentioned you're coming back from surgery, rehabbing from Tommy John. What has that process been like? Has it been difficult mentally and physically as well?
It's obviously like a really difficult thing mentally to like know that you're out of the game for a year at a minimum, um, and that you don't know who you're going to be on the other side. Like there's a lot of because there's so much time in the recovery. Like that's so much for like set for things to come up. But so far, the part of it that I thought was be the hardest for me, which was the first months of not being able to throw. And now that I'm throwing, it's a little more like okay, like back to normal. I'm doing the thing that is my job. It feels good. Like the concerns go away a little bit more.
Right.
But so far it's been as good as I could have hoped.
When you first realized that this is something that you might need, was that in spring training?
So my elbow started to hurt a little bit in spring training, and it just got progressively worse every outing. But like my stuff didn't get significantly worse. Like my velo didn't drop off. It's just sometimes it would hurt worse than others. And I was like, when I finally went in for the MRI, I was like, okay, maybe I have like a bone chip or something that's like shifting around, and that's why sometimes it hurts and sometimes it's fine. And then the doctor was just like, yeah, your UCL is pretty much torn entirely off the bone. Like it's torn almost completely off your humerus.
You just felt the pain right here where typically that mark is?
For me, it was like just like right in the elbow. It felt like it was my forearm because it was taking all of the strain, stabilizing my elbow because the ligament wasn't doing it anymore. And like a little bit up in my tricep because this is where it came off up here. So like my forearm actually felt kind of okay, like the elbow itself, like where you might traditionally think that you like where the pain might present traditionally, which is again why I thought that that wasn't the issue until I was like literally in the MRI tube and I was just like, oh, it might just be torn. Okay, yeah.
Unreal. Do you expect any changes in your mechanics or your pitch repertoire after this coming back?
So I don't know exactly. I'm trying to overhaul some stuff that I do with my lower half that I wasn't a huge fan of, but didn't ever have the time to like properly fix because I was just concerned about competing. So I didn't want to make these big sweeping changes, and now I have so much time to that I can focus on that. So some stuff might change there. My arm slot might shift a little. I'm not sure yet. I'm kind of just throwing where it feels comfortable right now. And for me, that's still very like it's still a very low slot compared to anyone else throwing basically. But I think that I'll end up coming back from a slightly higher slot and hopefully with better mechanics. So
Also, I do want to touch on a couple other things with some hitters you've faced. I mean, you played in AA, AAA, faced a lot of great hitters. Who were some of the really tough outs that you had to face?
that's the thing. I kind of try not to think about it too much. One person I hate facing is actually currently in AAA for the Met, Dan Palka.
Okay.
I've seen Palka since my freshman year of college. I saw him at Georgia Tech hitting baseballs onto the porches of the frat houses behind right field. And at some point in pro ball, he also learned how to do that, but also like stay back on changeups and off speed and just slap it the other way. And he is one of the most interesting, like, and frightening hitters that I've had to face.
Wow.
But otherwise, I feel like I don't pay attention that much. When I was I played in the Arizona Fall League after the 2017 season, and I knew that one of the teams we had Ronald Acuna on it. And I was like, oh, I didn't face him. I went back and watched the footage from the game. He was like the third hitter I'd faced. I just didn't realize I was not paying attention to who he is.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I guess that's better if you just block that out and just dial in and focus on what your catcher's calling.
Yeah, that's the goal. That was in spring training, partially to get past the elbow pain, and partially just as like trying it out as an approach. I was just looking at the sign the catcher put down, and whatever it was, that's what I was throwing, and not thinking about anything else. So
Yeah.
it's got its merit.
Sure, sure. For the young kids out there, a lot of what we do is try to help out the younger players. What are ways to help avoid injury? Are there any things that you've learned along the way that you'd say to your younger self or the young kids out there on how to maybe do things a little bit differently to avoid injury?
I would say that one, probably take some time off, especially when you're younger. Like, play another sport, like take some time off, go do other things. That is definitely really important. I think also the phrase that I've always seen, it's like from a sign in a workshop or something. It says, if you do not schedule time for maintenance, the equipment will schedule it for you. Like if you don't take care of your body will force you to take care of it, because something will go wrong.
Before we wrap up, I do want to mention something. You're a pretty big music guy, huh?
Yeah, yeah. I'm consider myself a musician. If other people would.
Play the guitar?
Yeah, I play guitar, a little bass, some other stuff. I played a bunch of brass instruments growing up, like in my school band.
Right, right, right. Okay, who are some of your favorite artists?
I'm a huge Beatles fan. I'm a big Bob Dylan fan. Like obviously, I'm a huge fan of a lot of the music that I grew up like listening in the car with my dad, like to baseball tournaments. It was very much like that classic rock.
You ever bring your guitar to the clubhouse?
No, afraid someone will go like Belushi mode in Animals and just destroy it.
Oh man, I mean, there are some guys with hidden talents that you don't know. Some have musical backgrounds. Some like to play the guitar or other instruments, and no one really knows about it.
Yeah, it's always interesting. It's like Stephen Brault, the Cubs was on the Pirates for many years. He has an album that it's out. It's pretty good. A guy in two organizations having with the Mets, John Curtis, is like a really incredible guitar and songwriter.
That's awesome. We got to have all the guys come together and create some type of band. Awesome stuff. Well, Tom, I appreciate you hopping on, and best of luck through the rest of the surgery process of recovery, and hopefully see you out there soon.
Thank you very much. I hope so.
We appreciate you tuning in to this episode of Billy the Bat Boy's Corner, presented by Up On Game. Tom is doing the best he possibly can to recover from Tommy John surgery, and he'll be back next May, and that's when he's supposed to be able to pitch in live action in games and return to affiliated baseball with the Mets. So somebody who's obviously doing a lot in the game to do what he can to spread the word of the surgery and how he's been able to recover and keep a positive mindset throughout this whole process. So if you'd like to learn more about what we're doing here with Billy the Bat Boy's Corner and Up On Game, be sure to follow on social media at Billy the Bat Boy, at Up On Game Network. We're supporting the Father English Center in Paterson, New Jersey. And don't forget, rate, review, subscribe, and we'll see you next time here on the show.